Good evening and warm welcome to this 169th conversation on WiseViews. Ladies and gentlemen, we are joined already by Pradip. Welcome, Pradip, along with all of us here. We heartily welcome you to this leadership conversation. I'll do a brief introduction and then hand it over back to you for your opening remarks. Let me share my screen. So, we are talking about the future of journalism today with the help of Pradip. Pradip is the co founder of the Morning Context. In this WiseViews leadership conversations, which we hold every Friday, we try to bring in fresh perspectives and bouts of leadership that one has experienced and that one can learn from all walks of life. Journalism, probably this is the second such leadership conversation that we are having. So once again, welcome Pradip to this conversation. This introduction and opening remarks will be for about 20-25 minutes, followed by 40 minutes of Q&A. So this is Pradip. Pradip is here with us, and let me take this opportunity to introduce him. He's a journalist and author with more than 17 years of experience. He's also a co-founder of the Morning Context. He is best known for his extensive reporting on WiseViews, once India's largest education technology company, for the Morning Context. His reporting on WiseViews culminated in a best-selling book titled The Learning Trap: How WiseViews Took Indian EdTech for a Ride. And this has won the C.K. Prahalad Best Business Book Award in the year 2024 in the Bangalore Business Literature Festival held very recently. Pradeep was born and raised in Patna, Bihar. He holds a postgraduate diploma in journalism from the IIMC, Indian Institute of Mass Communication. Before co-founding the Morning Context in 2019, he worked at leading publications including Deccan Chronicle and the very popular Mint. Traditional journalism is broken, according to Pradeep. Media companies today face critical challenges that undermine the quality of information reaching readers. Thin and poorly written articles barely scratching the surface of important issues. The rise of fake news and misinformation on social media and inherent biases of the advertising funded business models are some of them. So, the Morning Context was built to fix this by focusing on in depth reporting, factual accuracy, and editorial independence. Its subscription based model ensures accountability only to readers, not advertisers or corporations. This independence enables the Morning Context to hold power accountable, journalism's basic tenets, something we're largely missing in today's media landscape. This commitment to independent journalism led the Morning Context and Saha to uncover the dark underbelly of the education technology landscape. Their stories, initially criticized by the industry but later vindicated, exposed truths that mainstream media often overlook. Fantastic. I think we are in for a wonderful conversation now with what promises to be some detail into what has gone into the effort that has gone into the writing of the book itself and the power of independent journalism as championed in this case by the Morning Context. I am not saying TMC, the acronym is closer to another political party. So I wanted to call it full, the Morning Context. I also want to introduce Dr. Prasad. He's the Senior Director of Academic Wing at ICFAI Group. He brings to the table 3 decades of rich experience as an entrepreneur, as a corporate professional, as well as an academic now. He holds BTech from IIT Bombay and PGDM from IIM Kolkata. Welcome, Professor Prasad. Welcome to both of you. I'll stop sharing the screen here. And now we are all set to listen to Pradeep. The session is yours. Kindly introduce the topic and also help us understand the nuances of independent journalism, and then we'll be ready for the Q&A after you finish. Thank you once again and welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Rao. Thank you, Dr. Prasad, for calling me here. A warm welcome and a good evening to everybody who has found out time to participate in this panel discussion. I have a sore throat, so please excuse that bit, right? But yeah, I think Mr. Rao has done a good job of introducing the subject, right? We hear about it a lot, independent media, independent journalism. I want to just shed light on what it is and why is it important in today's day and age, right? I'll do it with 2 presentations, one about the media landscape in general, and as a case study, I will refer to the Morning Context in the second presentation. I mean, all of you who would have seen news over the last 10, 15 years would have noticed that the journalism landscape is changing. And it's changing in multiple ways. It's changing in terms of content, it's changing in terms of delivery, it is changing in terms of everything, right? Format, distribution, discovery, everything. But most of us are not privy to that. Most of us don't understand those aspects of journalism. What all of us would have seen, but is that a large number of publications are struggling today, and many of them are actually shut. Used to be a beautiful publication called the California Review on Sunday. Used to do long form journalism on multiple things. It shut down. I think 2022, 2023 shut down. Started from, obviously, it was published from California. It was a digital only publication. I remember a couple of publications shut down in South Africa. In the UK, a lot of publications are finding it difficult. The Atlantic Group is finding it difficult. In the US, Vox is finding it difficult. I think certain parts of Vox has shut down. It was also a very promising startup that shut down. The Huffington Post in India has shut down. A large number of news magazines that multiple groups, especially the India Today group, used to publish at one point in time, they have shut down. Like the Harper's Bazaar, it was a lifestyle magazine, but it has shut down. Readership has gone down across the segments, right? So it has kind of raised the question, right? As is journalism died already? There is no large analysis or large report being done on the number of publications that have went down over the past couple of years. But the names that I took, I'm guessing you guys have a basic understanding of what has happened, right? So that brings the question, right? If journalism is dying and publications are dying, then what is the way forward? How do you keep journalism alive? And that is where I would say independent journalism has to play a part. And what is independent journalism? What is the future of independent journalism? Allow me to share my screen and share this presentation with you guys. So the future of journalism, according to me, and I'm not the only one, a large section of journalists do think that the future of journalism is independent journalism. Now, the question is, what is independent journalism and why it is the key to journalism of the future? A large number of people, this is a study done last year. I will share the links later on. But this is a study done last year by multiple organizations, and this number has been scraped through multiple publications, saying that 60% of the readers, 60% of the subscribers are skeptical of the traditional media houses, the legacy media houses. What we need to say is the kinds like NYT, WSJ, CNN, those kind of outlets. In India, they would be like the Times of India group, the Hindustan Times group, and the that kind of legacy journalism outlets. It could be the India Today group, and so on and so forth. There are multiple reasons behind this skepticism, and I'll come to that. But what is the way around of that skepticism? That skepticism is there because subscribers feel that media is not unbiased. It is biased. There are certain biases. There are certain leanings that kind of are finding their way in the way journalism works, in the way reporting is done, in the way data, facts are presented, and so on and so forth. And I'll give you examples. Keep in mind racism, Gaza, everything around it. I'll come back to that. Independent journalism cuts through this and focuses on delivery of information without any inherent bias and also ensuring factual accuracies, right? That is the first tenet of independent journalism. It is also important for news to be free from all sorts of influence. When you have corporate houses or big companies paying for it, news is not free of external influence. Independent media ensures, because it is not governed by the businesses or people who pay for ad money or subscription, that independent media is generally free from external influence, which is all the more important in the current environment, because that is what safeguards editorial integrity and all sorts of interests across population, across different sections of population, and representation of all parts of population in news. It's important because only if you are independent, you will be able to bring out, one of the jobs of journalists is to be the voice of the people who don't have voice, right? You speak for the minorities, you speak for the people, the sections of population which don't have a representation. You can only do that if you are kind of free from external pressures and be able to highlight the marginalized narratives. Some of the examples of these free and independent media houses are ProPublica, The Guardian in the West. And in our company, in our country, we are one of the publications. The Morning Contest is one of the publication which is trying to maintain independence and explore themes of finding accountability. We are trying to hold capital and power accountable in whatever we do, whether it be business journalism, financial journalism, or policy based journalism. Now here is the importance of independent media. Why is independent media important? One, because it we need the trust of the public to build. Information itself is not enough. You need the people to trust the information that is coming from you. For that reason, important independence is important. If people know that, for example, if if a big business group owns a certain publication, any news coming out of that publication will not be unbiased. Let's just stop at that. I'm sure you guys know who I'm talking about, but let's just stop at that. So trust is one factor, unbiased reporting is the other factor. You have to understand all perspectives and give your opinion if need be without any biases. And you have to bring out diverse perspectives from the richest of the richest to the poorest of the poor. What are the challenges facing journalism today? I spoke about this, right? One is obviously the declining revenue. The revenue in journalism has fallen 40% from 2008 2009, which is huge because what people don't understand is that journalists are also people who need to put food on the table, right? So you need to pay journalists well, and when the revenues are declining, obviously you can't pay them well. So yeah, that's a huge issue. The second one is political pressure. You would have seen the case of one journalist who has been arrested for certain reasons in the west of the country, and obviously in multiple geographies, not just India, all publications are facing political pressures, right? The third biggest thing is misinformation. With the rise of internet and with the rise of social media, misinformation is one big challenge for all of us to solve. So what is the way out? The biggest thing that we see, obviously I have listed three here, but I will talk only about the first one, which is the rise of subscription journalism. The idea is that journalism has to be for the readers, right? Paid for by the readers. The readers will have to pay, and only then journalism can be sustainable and independent. Because if you pay as a subscriber, I will be able to do the stories that need to be told and not the stories that advertisers want us to tell. So subscription is the biggest trend in this year. It has been over the last couple of years. Actually, a lot of good journalists have got out of news publications, have started their own newsletters, their own publications. We started this 5 years ago. So yeah, this is one of the ways out of fight the challenges in the traditional model of journalism that we have. Why subscription matters is because only if you subscribe, we will have the money and we will have the security and we will be able to find authentic voices, authentic reports. We will be able to hold capital and power accountable, and we will be able to bring in a lot more diversity and inclusion. That is the reason independent journalism and subscription are important. I will skip this part because this doesn't have to play. This would be true for all media organizations, independent or not. It is also important when you go for subscription media that you bring in interactive content, as in the sense you build a community. It's not just a reader or a journalist. You're basically building a community that can interact with each other. If I write something, you should be able to tell me, hey, this is the case, I don't think this is right, or where have you got the facts, they are wrong, and maybe I will be able to defend myself or rectify if there is a issue with this. So it's about being interactive, right? So that is one part. Personalized content, right? It's very nice to see your name popping up in the email when you say, when I get the email, good morning, Pradip, this is the news. This is what we are doing today. This is the story, and it changes the lens of seeing that story. It is important. I mean, and you'll only see the difference once you start seeing this kind of emails, right? And I already spoke about building the community, because at the end of the day, we are building communities. It is niche community, but we are building communities. As I said, the path ahead is independent journalism. It has a vital role to play. We are changing with the time, and all of you, all everybody is responsible to support independent journalism so it can sustain, so the model can sustain, so journalism can sustain. I'll go back 2 slides, right, just to explain one point. I keep saying that this is the best time for journalism and this is also the worst time for journalism, obviously, because there are so many things happening simultaneously. If you look at what we have today, we have the tool of internet, we have everything around us which will help us to gather all sorts of information and everything, right? And imagine 20 years ago, they had to learn the names of, when I entered journalism 17 years ago, my seniors who started like 40 years ago, they used to tell me that we had to remember all the names of the chief ministers and the reserve bank governors and this and that and everything, and we used to write and on paper, and corrections were done on paper. Things have changed a lot of information is right on tip of your fingers. You just search, click, find, right? It is the best time to be a journalist. It's also the worst time to be a journalist, because obviously everybody has the power to, everybody with a phone and with a voice can become a journalist, and then your voice is drowned in the sea of other voices which don't actually belong to the space, but they are there because they can be. Having said that, why subscription is important, I'll give you one example. This tweet came out recently. I just wanted to show you this tweet. Please see this and see the highlighted part here. You want to write about Hamas and Israel. No one's going to advertise against that. If you write a story about female entrepreneur who's made it up from poverty, I can sell infinite ads. With the marketing and ad driven model of journalism, this is the way. Back in the day when I was with one of the leading financial dailies, let me just name them. I was with Lounge, right? And Mint Lounge used to have a very, very Vogue kind of stand. They used to do very nice stories, but they did not get ads. And one day I was just chatting around with people in power, and I got to know that they didn't get ads because for advertisers, all right hand side pages, pages 3, 5, 7, 9, and so on and so forth, they are premium pages. And when you do journalism, when you are in print journalism, these are also prime real estate where you want to put the best things that you have. And the best things that Lounge used to have were socially very, very critical kind of commentaries and everything. And nobody wanted to put their ad on a page which was talking about child killing or all sorts of problems in the society. So that was a problem, as you could see with this tweet on Hamas and Israel. Also, there's a certain narrative building in the Western world right now with the situation in the Middle East, and nobody wants to talk about it freely because obviously they are not independent. Which is why independent media is important, which doesn't adhere to these kind of power structures, which is not answerable to these powerful people or media houses or corporate houses, right? And with that, let me just quickly bring in a very short presentation on the morning context, and then I will start. I'll just start now. So yeah, the morning context started in September 2020, 2019 with the focus on subscriptions. We wanted to do only subscription-based journalism in which readers pay for what the kind of stories that we do. Why do we exist? We exist because, there is no other publication like us. I mean, across the world, there are not many independent business journalism websites. We were trying to be one. And when I say independent business journalism websites, I will give you one or two examples. Right, back in the day, the Indian startup scene started in 2006, 7, 8. Right, over the next decade, and I say this because I was a part of a financial daily at that point in time. The all the stories that we used to hear were like, XYZ company raises XYZ million dollar series A, series B, series C. Nobody actually said where that money went or what exactly happened with that. The information or the presentation of the information was very surface level. There were no deep dives, there were no analysis kind of stories. What is our target audience? Our target audience is young, upwardly mobile people who understand information, who want to have the correct information so that they can make their decisions accordingly in the market or in the startup scene. We right now have about target is this. As you can see, we have about 15 to 20,000 paying subscribers as of now. Like I said, that we were built on 5 assumptions. First, the target group, which was young, upwardly mobile Indians, they wanted to have information that helps them grow their career and or profit from the information. They could either understand what was the scene inside one startup or the other, or they so that they can apply to those companies or take a position in those companies or invest in those companies. Our target group also has very less time. We appreciate time poverty that is there, and that is the reason why you don't want to bombard your readers with 15 different pieces of information that generally have no consequence in their lives, right? And that they can get from anywhere on the internet. So you want to give them stories that are important, that needs to be told, that can actually move the needle. And lastly, because global media also was not targeting India in the matter that we wanted to highlight these stories. As a company, our focus is very clear that we want to be subscription led. It means we have only subscription as the only revenue stream for our business. We don't have any other sources of revenue. We have raised investor capital, but that is about it. We don't have ads. Sometimes there is a partnership where there's some company that wants to sponsor one newsletter or the other, but that's a one-off transaction. We generally do not have ads across our website, which means it's a clean website. You get to a story and you read it and you get out. There's no distraction whatsoever. We have fewer stories because the stories take time to create. They are in-depth stories, and you don't tend to you can't do so many in-depth stories in a month, and you can't read so many in-depth stories as well. So yeah, and we are 100% digital. We are across apps. We are on the app and on the website. That is it. So I think this is like 4 5 months old data, but we have about 140,000 email subscribers now, and more than 12 to 15% of them are paying subscribers. This is the analysis of the competition. I don't want to get into that because you know the difference between between these publications once you read them. A large number of people who have invested in us, who read us, are entrepreneurs, CSEC executives, professors. We are read at IITs, IIMs. I hope ICFAI as well soon. We are read by people like Nikhil Kamath, Abhay Pandey of A91 Ventures, Harish Mariwala, Uday Shankar, and the likes. Last but not the least, we have added authenticity to our reporting. Because the model is changing. Journalism back in the day used to be, you go out and you become a fly on the wall and you see and you report as is. It has changed because everybody can do that, right? Journalists are paid for their opinion. They are paid for their understanding of the landscape because they are skilled professionals in what they do. So I'll give you an example. If somebody tells you that it's raining and somebody else tells you it's not raining, as a journalist, your job is not to go out, see and present both the perspectives that X says it's raining and Y says it's not raining. You have to stick your neck out and take a stand that it is raining or not raining. We have taken stands, and our work has been noticed. Our work has been quoted in Bloomberg, FT, a number of Indian publications as well. So with that, I end my presentation, and yeah, I'll give my throat some rest, and I'll throw the time to the participants for questions.
Right, Pradip. Pradip, thank you very much. One is the sore throat, which is evidently disturbing you. I don't know. When we spoke last time, it was fine, but I think the weather is changing. It is affecting everyone. We are in the times where slightest of changes in the weather is going to throttle your voice. And in a microcosm, that's what is the problem that is plaguing journalism. It affects our voice. How can journalism be the voice for the voiceless? I think that's one of the highlights that you have mentioned, and therefore the answer has to be independent journalism, which will become a platform and a voice and a representative of the marginalized groups, those who have no wherewithal to, voicing out their concerns. And fantastic. I think you started with what ails journalism, and then you've identified one of the solutions as independent journalism. In fact, the solution is independent journalism to plug that to actually contain that problem. Wonderful. I think the case study of the morning context also is very good. But more interestingly, I'm sure we're going to deal with this in the Q&A now as to what's happening around the world and also what's happening within our country. There are interesting questions coming up now for you. And I want to once again acknowledge the fact that we are joined by some distinguished individuals around the screen to listen to your conversation today. And I welcome all of them. What we do now is we have two clusters of Q&A. The first cluster will be taken up by Professor Prasad. I'll come back for the second cluster. During the second cluster, I'll open the mic for the members in audience to ask questions directly to the speaker. They can keep raising their hands, but that will be addressed only in the second cluster. So please bear with us and we'll start with Q&A. Professor Prasad, I invite you to start. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Rao. Thank you, Pradip, for introducing something that is not so well known to many people and helping us understand the contours where this whole thing is going. It is at a very early stage. And so the first question that comes my way is, what were the motivations that brought you to independent journalism?
It was funny actually, now we joke around and say that, nobody else would employ us anyway. So, yeah. But jokes apart, we were all of us, right? If you see the composition of the morning context, half of us were with Mint earlier, right? And we got bored after a point in time. I got bored, I know. And bored, I did multiple things. I wrote about sports, I wrote about lifestyle, I wrote about fashion and whiskeys and everything else. And then I got bored again. And then I realized that what am I doing, right? And around that time, like a bunch of us came together to figure out that if we were bored, there is something that is inherently wrong in the model of journalism that we have today. And the best way to solve a problem is get down, get dirty, get your hands dirty, and try solving that. That's how we came to independent journalism. From day one, we were like very much, we were very aware that we wanted to do a model of journalism that is paid for by subscribers. So there is no ad money, there is no money taking from any corporate houses. And even the investors that we have like, for example, Kunal, the founder of Cred, right? He is a subscriber. He's a subscriber, he's an investor, but we have done critical stories about him. So even our investors who have invested money in us, they do not have any say in the editorial policies or the editorial pipeline that we have. So it's very, very important. I think the short answer to a question is that we got bored of seeing what was happening in financial journalism, and we thought that there needs to be more accountability and less, press release journalism.
Thank you. I think you have highlighted one of the reasons why this direction is taking place. And it, in a way, is like a pain point and a startup. Though it may not be economic in nature, more social in nature, but then you are willing to go a much more longer haul in order to be there. This is what I sense. So I'll come to my next point. If you look at journalism as a profession, today, what are the major motivations that people take it up as a career? Some of you are moving away from it and going into this. So how does the entry to the funnel look like with respect to the rest of it?
Funny thing, right? So every time somebody asks me about journalism, the first answer is, if you're wanting to become a journalist, don't. It is not fun. There's a thrill, but that thrill comes in very late, after you have kind of identified your niche, you know what you want to do, and you know which direction to go. but that thrill also comes at a cost of mental peace and everything else, right? But yeah, that said, I think, like I said, it's the best time to be a journalist. It's the worst time to become a journalist, right? It's like these are two different sides of the same coin. You want to become a journalist, if you want. I mean, why do you want to become a journalist? If you are not happy with the state of our union, if you're not happy with the state of our businesses, if you're not happy with the state of our economy, and you want to do something around it, what do you want to do? You can either become a policymaker and change it on that side of the spectrum, or you become a participant trying to highlight where things are wrong and what needs to be looked at. Because half of us don't know how to look at GDP. We are still believing the GDP numbers that are being thrown at us. The real story is something which is buried down deep, right? When I started writing on education technology, for example, which has become the highlight of my career so far, I was coming from a point of view that this is a sector which is raising a lot of capital from across the world. Why is so much money coming into that sector? Education fundamentally, the education system of India is completely flawed, and we all know that. And it is not a new phenomenon. It has always been the case, right? If so much money suddenly is coming into one sector, what is happening? Because at that point in time, all we used to hear is, this company has raised that much money, this company has raised so much money, this company is doing this and this company is doing that. But there was nobody analyzing what was actually done with the money that was raised, right? That curiosity was there. That is the reason I became a journalist, right? So again, to come back to your question, and the short answer, if you want to be a journalist, why do you want to be a journalist? If you're not happy with things way things are, you either change at the source, or you change it at the output level, where you see it and where you analyze where things are going wrong and highlight it so that everybody else can see it and raise a voice. How do you go about it? Just start wherever you can and rise your way to the top. I started in Deccan Chronicle at the Nation desk, uh, by doing 4 p.m. to 2 a.m. shifts, and now I write. So it doesn't matter where you start, as long as you start and as long as you keep at it. So yeah.
Thank you. I think you have highlighted a few points. First is, and those who want to enter journalism in a more real sense, that is about the lack of happiness with the status quo and wanting to do something about it, which basically is a purpose. And then from there, the need for curiosity also. So if you look at the current trend, is that how people join journalism? And if so, given what you're saying about not the independent journalism, what kind of shift or is occurring to independent journalism? Is it significant, or it is just beginning, or how is the whole thing evolving there?
See, like I said, independent journalism is very tough, right? So I don't see a lot of people actually trying to do that. If at all, there are people who are trying to do it after making a name. I mean, a Ravish Kumar is being able to do what he does because he has created a body of work over 20, 25, 30 years of his professional life, right? And so many other people who are doing this, who are doing independent journalism, are doing it because they have created a body of work. Look at Barkha Dutt, for example, and her startup that is also independent media house, right? But there can't be a large movement. I mean, think of it like cinema, right? And there was a time when there was popular cinema, and there was, like, the other parallel cinema. This is difficult, right? The first is, where do you get the money from, right? You have to pay the journalists, right? What will be your business model? So it is very difficult. So there is a definite shift, but it is not that big, and it won't be that big, because even uh, even the legacy media houses are trying to emulate our business model by putting in paywalls and subscriptions, but they have not been able to a large extent, so yeah, that is there. But yes, I see a lot of young people wanting to become journalists. One of the reasons, as I said, is because they are not happy with the status quo. There are certain other reasons. They associate a certain kind of glamour with it. At least I did when I started. That is what brought me and another friend to write a journalism test. but that's that, right? But yes, answer your question. There are people wanting to become journalists. People who are starting, they don't understand the difference between independent and advertisement-led journalism. Uh, and people who are in the profession, they want to be independent, but obviously convenience comes right in the way, and it's very very difficult. It's like economically it's difficult, for your mental and emotional health it is difficult. So
Yeah, yeah. So it's some kind of a beginning stage. It will be in small pieces, very few people who actually made it big. So can you give us, just to get a lighthouse kind of a thing, can you give us an example of one person who's made it big in the current context? Maybe big is not very big, but still big.
so the Ken is decently big. It's a media organization based out of Bangalore. Ken is decently big. We are decent size. I think Scroll is doing a decent job. They are a decent website. They are a general news publication. Their model is also, their model is donation based, like the Guardians. There, that's not subscription yet. They are doing definitely a good job. Ravish Kumar, I mean, for me to say something about his brand of journalism is like to show light to the sun, so I wouldn't do that. But yeah, these are some examples that come to mind. I would like to highlight, there are bloggers who are doing great job, right? Recently Dhruv Rathi became very very popular, not because he did uh, he did influencer kind of blogging or vlogging, but he actually found problems and hit those problems, spoke about the problems the way they should be talked about in public discourse. There's another guy, uh, Akash Banerjee, goes by the handle the Deshbhakt. These people are doing good job, right? And these are all mostly independent people.
So I think what is being understood, and particularly for a forum like us, is that there needs to be more focus on how these things are taking place and how they are being built and amongst these two.
Yes.
And perhaps more attention has to go into that in order to for this to carve itself out and make it purposeful and material over the medium term.
See, I'll give you a very, very, very small example, right? So recently I've done a lot of Baiju stories by now, but one of the recent stories that I did, and we post social media on these things. And social media, I got a comment saying, "This is a public interest story. Why don't you make it free?" People, and this is us. This is despite us saying multiple times why we can't make stories free. We can't make stories free because that is the only revenue model. I understand that it's in public interest, yes, but for the public that is there on social media, on Twitter, who is commenting that the story should be free, I can bet that they have 300 rupees to pay and read the story. You have to understand that if you don't pay, the journalism, the that publication might shut down, and then that kind of stories will not happen. We were not there. You had the Times of India's, you had the Economic Times, you had the Mints, you have the Financial Expresses, you had all these people, right? Why did it take a morning context to call out Byju's for what it is? Why did it take the morning context to call out Bhavish Agarwal or Ola for what they are? Why did it take the morning context to call out, fintech for what it is, right? We would wish in an ideal world we would not be needed. We would be redundant. But it is not an ideal world, right? It is not a world where journalism is led by directions, curiosity, and that feeling of doing good, right? Trying to be unbiased and doing the stories that need to be done. No, it's not done. If you go to publications, they fill up newspaper pages with press releases. Mankind Pharma releasing the next brand of pharmaceuticals. Why is that even a story? Why is that even a story? And they give prime time real estate in newspaper to those kind of news, right? So that's what I'm saying. So people have not understood the news business, right? And we are trying hard to make people understand that you have to understand. I see people who put in, like, who smoke like 10 cigarettes a day, but they will not pay 300 rupees for a well written article which they say is in public interest. And this is a problem I have had with normal subscribers, normal readers, as well as very, very learned people. So, yeah.
Excellent. I think we are understanding more of the landscape here and the pain points which exist, and the different types of approaches and the views that people have. I think there's much more that we need to understand. We are at about 7:20. I hand it back to Professor Rao.
Thank you. Professor Prasad, I think you should have continued. The conversation is going smooth and it is peeling layer by layer slowly. We are getting to the core of it. Very interesting. We have not even touched BYJU'S, but I think we are staying steadily focused on independent journalism. There is so much to understand. I read the Ken and I'm thrilled with the kind of stories that they report. Of course, I subscribe and read, and I also share those stories with my friends, those well-meaning friends who are there. And I was thrilled about the model when I came to know about what the Ken is doing, and I'm sure I'm going to subscribe to the morning context as well. What kind of promotional strategies you are adopting on behalf of TMC, that is the morning context, to entice us to read you? Because there has to be some kind of a promotion. I know the values that you uphold and the investment into the journalism itself is meager.
Yeah, so for the retail subscribers, we are as we are, right? So for institutional subscribers, I mean, we have a separate campus subscription program for all, through which all leading IIMs and IITs read us. We also have corporate subscription plans. I mean, there are bigger corporations which have like 30, 50, 100 seats who have bought those number of seats or those number of subscriptions at a subsidized price. But that's about it. We don't have any other promotional thing. I think at one point in time, we also had a student subscription separate. I don't know if it is still there.
But those are all sales promotions. Do you have any marketing promotions? Do you entice us to read yours? Do you give a slice of what you write to us so that we go back for more?
So yes, so there are two layers to subscription, right? So you first land on our website and then you create a login for yourself, right? You use your email ID, you use a password, and that is how you log in. That's it, nothing else.
Okay.
Now, when you want to read a story, which is a paid story, you need to subscribe, which means you have to buy. Now, once you have created a login, which is the first step, you become our reader anyway. So every morning there will be an email in your inbox which will give you a slice of what the story is all about, so that you can click there and go to our website to read the full story. That's the only marketing campaign. I mean, that's our regular daily marketing campaign. Once in a while, we kind of send emails. Like for example, when the Baiju, when events happen, right? I think when the Kular Kamra event happened around Ola, we did a targeted email kind of. We shot a targeted emails listing 4 to 5 best stories to understand the entire landscape of the development. So yeah, email campaign is the only marketing campaign that we have.
I'm holding one question back, which I will give to the member in the audience who raised that question. Let him ask that question directly. Like an independent journalist, he should ask the question directly. Before that, I just wanted to understand, you have broadly categorized as journalists of repute who have now become independent. You have given the names like Ravish and the ilk. There is in my understanding, there's a lack of clarity. What is Pranay Roy now? He is an independent journalism representative now, or that's a big media house? One person.
I don't see Pranay Roy in NDTV anymore. I think their stake has been bought and they are out of NDTV.
No,
I don't
not NDTV,
see.
not NDTV. The one that he has started now aside of NDTV. I'm talking
I
about.
am sorry, I am not aware of that. I haven't studied it in detail. But please send me the name and I will look it up
I'll,
and I will send you
I'll
the
give you the
reply.
name before we close. I'll give the name. But the point
Yes.
I'm coming to is, how will people come to know about the morning context if what Pranay Roy has done is not noticed? How will people notice the good work done by the morning
5
context?
years ago, I had this question, right? why are you even there? Like I said, right, in an ideal scenario, we shouldn't be there in the first place. This question was asked multiple times. I think we have answered those questions. Like we were the first, like, and I'm only talking about my stories, right?
Okay.
We were the first ones to identify the problems with Baiju, the entire education technology landscape. We were the first ones to identify what is wrong with mobility. We were the first ones to identify what is wrong with agriculture technology. And our stories have been shared, reshared. We have broken stories. We have predicted certain outcomes for certain companies, which we are seeing happening right now. So I think we have created a reputation that can be widely. I'm not saying we are basically known by 100% of the population, but we don't want to be. We don't want to be. I
Okay.
understand when I say independent journalism, I am absolutely sure that it is a niche product. It is a niche product which is subscribed by a certain number of individuals who are ready to pay for the information that they get. And I'm
Absolutely.
sure if you are in that circle in our target audience, you would have heard our name. And if you haven't, you would too.
Some people are supporting us with that. Decoder. Decoder is what Pranay Roy is doing right now.
Right, right.
Yeah.
I heard it because I remember watching the exit poll on this, but I didn't know that it is a full-fledged media publication. Anyway, I will have to figure this out and let get back to you on
Yeah.
this.
So there is one more category. I'm only trying to understand
Hmm,
the categories in my mind. How do we place?
hmm,
So there are
hmm.
examples and we put them in boxes. That's the kind of exercise I'm doing. There's an organization called the Factly, the fact checking body. Where do they come? They also are independent journalists.
I think so. I don't know about Factly, but let me tell you about these guys.
Rakesh Dugudu, he runs the Factly.
Okay, the only fact checkers that I know is Pratik Sinha and Mohammed Zubair's organization because I only go to their website. So
You're talking about alt news?
Alt News, right? So Alt News is an independent website, but Alt News's model is different. Alt News's model is donation, right? There's a
Right.
slight different, right? So if you go to the Guardian, for example, all of us are aware of the Guardian. If you go to the Guardian's homepage, somewhere they changed the placement of this pop-up box, but this box is there. I think towards the end of a story page. You click on a story, come down to the end of the story, and they said that you have read X number of Guardian articles this year.
Okay.
Please think about donating to us. If you don't want to donate, that is fine, but you want to donate it. So that's the Guardian, right? The same kind of model it has been adopted in India by Scroll. The same kind of model is adhered to by Alt News. These are all websites which ask you to donate. It is your choice. You want to donate 500 rupees, 5,000 rupees, or 5 lakh rupees. It is entirely up to you. But that is where they are, and they make do with whatever they have, whatever they can raise or whatever. Our model is different. Our model is subscription based. We are not asking for donations, but we are asking to subscribe. You pay and you read. Simple. So that's the fundamental difference between these two models, even though both are independent
Yeah. Yeah.
publications, independent
Excellent.
journalism.
Yeah. Fantastic. Thank you very much. There's a lot of clarity there in terms of the categorization, and there are all kinds of, in the sense, there are shades of the operating models are slightly different,
Hmm.
although the spirit is independent.
Yes.
Want to be independent. Okay, very good. We'll no longer close the mics. We'll open the mics now for the people. We also want to be the platform for those whose mics are muted. Kindly unmute your mics. Mr. Anil Fernandez, please raise your question.
Hi, Pradip. My question was actually partly answered by you. The point is, like people know about the Ken, but it took a long time for Ken to be known to people. How do you make yourself, and you may say that you don't want to reach out to the masses, but the subscription model which you talk about is prevalent in a lot of countries. I mean, in the West, it's mostly subscription. If you want news, there's all
Yes.
obviously everything is behind a paywall, right? So is when you're creating differentiated content, how is it that people will know about it more? You mentioned about email marketing. Is that the only route? Or are you going to have multiple routes for people to know about?
That was our only. See, when we started, our entire focus was only on editorial. For the first 2 years, we didn't have a tech team. So there was one of us founders who actually doubled up as an engineer to sort out our back tech related problems. So we are a very frugal organization. We haven't been able to raise a lot of money also because we started like 6 months before the pandemic, 8 months before the pandemic. So that also played a role. So multiple reasons, there were multiple reasons, but our focus has been entirely on editorial from day one. And we have always believed that our stories will do the talking. Fortunately, it has happened. I do understand what you're saying, that, how will people know about you? But word of mouth is the best publicity that we knew. We didn't have the money to pump in marketing. We have seen what advertising does to companies like WiseViews. Look at them. They got Lionel Messi and, the entire cricket team, and what happened to them. So we don't want to get into that, because that kind of gives you a false sense of hope and false sense of whatever. But bringing brand loyalty is very, very important. So you want to be one-stop shop for people to read, and you want to be a habit of people. The first thing that they do is log on to the morning context, see, read, and that's it. And it happens over time, as you rightly said. It didn't happen in one day. We were mostly clamped down. We were attacked left, right, and center for our reporting on multiple companies. We stay vindicated. But yeah, it's a matter of time. Yeah, I mean, Rome wasn't built in a day. You have to be invested. You have to go long, and you need to just keep one foot in front of the other, and you'll go the way. And I'm sure as our team sizes increase, as we get some more comfortable with a little more revenue, we will figure out the other ways of marketing as well. But these are not our first step problems. These are not our first priority problems as of now.
Got it. Got it. Wonderful. Thank you very much for that response. Mr. Arun Kaul, you can go at it.
I'm enjoying the discussion, an excellent discussion. And we heard your point of view as far as free and subscription-based models are concerned. I thought I'll just, it's not really a question. In fact, I wanted your advice. You see it from the reader's point of view. I have at least 15 names I can give you where I regularly read various articles and all, and I cannot afford to subscribe to all 15 or even more, So I am a free, many of you have the free model also, where you can read 2 articles or 3 articles a month or some such thing. So for example, the Ken, I contribute regularly to their photographs and they publish them also. But what I'm saying is that I cannot, of course, I should mention I'm 74 years old and I'm retired. I cannot subscribe to 15 or maybe more of these, the names like The Wire or Karan Thapar or, Economist or this thing. So what is there some answer that you make money from the corporates or the institutions and the libraries and all, but I don't know whether you can give us some option that we can read your articles free after 15 days or something. Maybe I don't want to read it. I can wait for 15 days and then read it. Why I'm saying is that I just don't want to stick to just one subscription of one name, like yours or something, or only the Ken or only the Wire or something like that. But I would like to read a lot of stuff coming from various sources, but I really can't afford to subscribe to everyone. Of course, there's a very silly, I don't think it's really workable that you say that, okay, for article wise, you can subscribe and say, pay 30 rupees, read an article and then go ahead. And that maybe I don't want to read all the articles. If you're talking about some subject which I'm not interested in, I don't want to read about it. But there's some subjects, topics or articles I'm very to read. So the advice I want from you is that what should a person like me who wants to really read across 15 or maybe more, sites and without subscribing to every site? I don't know if there's an answer to that.
So at the cost of sounding cheeky, Mr. Kaul, I would just kill one of those subscription and buy a morning context subscription. But jokes apart, right? I see your problem, but the pay per article model has been implemented by a few of them, and it really doesn't fit the unit cost economics, right? A better model, in my opinion, and since you said that you are ready to wait for 15 days, 30 days, whatever, maybe identify the stories, wait for a month, see if you can find 3 stories. At the end of the month, find a monthly subscription, take a monthly subscription. It's about 300 or 400 bucks. That's about it. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah, but if one takes the subscription, it will be at least an annual subscription, not.
No, I think we also have a monthly subscription.
Yeah, you have maybe whatever 300 rupees or whatever. I don't know. Many
So
people.
you just have to pay for 1 month and then you just unsubscribe after that. So it's as simple as that. And, I mean, I will be killing business for my company, but that's a solution. But yeah, that's how it is.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Kaul. Now we'll do Pradeep versus Pradeep.
Hello. Thanks, Pradip, for the very engaging discussion. And so many things we have been observing, but thanks for putting it in context. I mean, we now understand the changes that is happening. So we have been observing, but then the labels, and when he first read that it's going to be independent journalism, I'm an independent director. So I mean, but then now you get to more understand what you're talking about and stuff, right? One question, and so many thoughts, so many random thoughts. I don't know. It was going to take so long to discuss all it went very later. But the one thought that has come to my mind is, you started with the thing that TMC strives to be independent. So that was one of the tagline, if I remember correctly. Like, I don't know the exact word. Yeah. So you must be under tremendous pressure, right? Even when you are independent, you must be under pressure to to bend, to get influenced by some organization or other.
100%. 100%. There are like you can't even imagine. Like
Yeah.
I keep telling this, right? And I cracked this joke at the Lit Fest as well, right? So, because most of the people in my industry are based out of Bangalore, I make an annual trip to Bangalore to just to meet and greet and just to get them chit chatting and everything, right? So every time I am to go to Bangalore, I just book meetings in advance. And the running joke in edtech circles in Bangalore is कि तू बैंगलोर आ रहा है तो बायजू को मत बताना, भविष्य को मत बताना, तेरा नाम का सुपारी निकाल देंगे. So it's a joke, right? But you can understand the kind of pressure from that, right? And this is just one kind of pressure. I remember at one point in time when I was doing one of the stories on Byju's, I got a random call from somebody, and that person introduced himself to me as a senior lawyer in Supreme Court of India. And he said one of his friends is advising Byju's on something, and he wanted to discuss with me parts of the story that I was working on. And I was like, what the hell? And he said that, I used to be a law correspondent for the Hindustan Times. I said, then you do understand where I'm coming from, right? He said, yes, I do. Then he asked me, do you have your facts right? I said, yes. And then he was like, then screw them. This was his answer, right? He was trying to influence me, right? So there will be people who will like sideline and try to pay us to kill a story. It has happened with multiple people I know. Thankfully, we have not succumbed to that pressure so far. I hope we don't, because things are big, right? And the reputations are at stake, right? Not just ours, but also the companies. So financial, economical, I have like 3 lawsuits against me in multiple courts across India. People try to put you down, right? They try to intimidate you, and then if they figure out that they can't do it that way, they try to file a case against you for defamation and stuff like that. So these things are par for the course, and that is why I said journalism is not easy. It's not meant to be easy. If it is easy, it's not journalism. Nothing that is worth pursuing in life is easy. It's as simple. If it's easy, it's not worth it.
Excellent. Well said.
One other question is, we talked about Dr. Pranay Roy, and we grew up with, when it was mainly print media, he started with news cassettes, video cassettes. It was, I could rent it out from the local video library and, read, see his, and that's how it started. And then with NDTV. Now, NDTV, a big media house, was considered at least to be independent till certain time, right? Until it became, So so even a big media house, which was a national TV channel, was independent, and yet they had to succumb, right? I mean,
They were, to be honest, Pradeep, they were never completely independent, right? Independence means independence from advertising, right? They were always advertising.
hmm, okay,
So they were not independent ever. And they were part of a hostile takeover, right? They were the shares were dealt long time back. Nobody thought that this will happen the way it did, and their stake was bought in a hostile takeover. I mean, you are an independent director. You know how these board maneuvers work. I mean,
hmm,
it was basically pre-planned, right? And this can happen to anybody, right?
correct.
Somebody can come to me tomorrow, and you can. It's easy to figure out a Trojan horse and invest a certain amount of money in a company. You don't know who's buying, right? Because it's like an auction in Sotheby's, right?
Yeah,
The representative of the person who wants to buy will be there. You don't know whether it's a drug lord or a Mexican cartel or a Russian oligopoly.
absolutely.
You don't know who's the man behind it, and it's very easy, right? It's easy for us to also fall into that trap. Somebody will be sitting in Dubai, would say, "Boss, come, let's meet. We want to invest that much money in you. We are very very happy with the kind of work you do." And there is no precedent of that guy. You can't verify it. Maybe two links you find, you are inclined to believe that that guy is the right guy, but you don't know what is the intention of that guy. Is he the real guy or somebody else pulling the string from behind? You don't know that. There's no way to know these things for sure. I think that is exactly what happened with NDTV.
Thanks for the great. I mean,
Thank you.
just to my
Thank you, Mr.
final
Pradeep.
observation is, that I was not aware of the TMC, right? The morning context, and now I am aware. I would like to go to the site and possibly.
Please read, please
Thank
read,
you.
please subscribe. Yes.
Yeah. So yes, and I would agree that email marketing, building up a credible follow is probably the right way to go. Organic, strong, and that would be the right way, rather than digital marketing, just your social media.
Yeah,
Thanks.
yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Yes, Mr. Pradeep, are you through? I guess you are.
Yes, sir, I am through. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we have one more hand going up. We'll definitely take that. But before that, I wanted to understand. You can give a brief reply on this. Before you started writing on Byju's, or the way you went into Byju's, is it by strategy or it's an opportunity that you have? I look at it as an opportunity that you have actually taken up. So
It's actually funny. But yeah, complete your question and then I'll answer. Sorry.
yeah, the question is actually funny. After completing your articles on reporting on Byju's and also subsequent to making of the book, your subscriptions have gone up. Have you measured that?
So our subscriptions are generally up, right? And see, a large number of people who have been reading us, they knew what is going to happen, right? And that's why I say we stay vindicated, right? The only way to measure subscriptions is in the subscription revenue quarter on quarter or year on year or month on month, right? On those parameters, we are doing better. I can only summarize that information to that fact that our subscriptions are growing. We are growing on in double digit percentage terms year on year. But there is really no other way to figure this out. Obviously, the book has done well, which is why I'm talking here. So that's the only way to know. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's no other way.
I know it's an important point for us to understand. Probably we can go back and check the revenue figures and the timing of the subscription. When you look at the data, we'll definitely get the answer. Why I am raising that point is it is important to understand for any brand in its journey, in the initial stages, it will be not known to many. Obviously, when you hit upon a tipping point, when you hit upon a very interesting, a big blast kind of a story, then you will be known in larger circles. The spillover benefits of you're calling it as what is word of mouth. The word of mouth will be viral when you
Yeah. So
hit
in
upon.
our case, there have been companies. Obviously, Byju's is one. The entire edtech universe, Unacademy is another. We have written a lot about Oyo. Nobody else has reported on that company the way we have reported it. Nobody has written on PTM the way we have reported, or the entire fintech rise as we have covered it. Nobody has written on Bhavishya's companies like we have done. So there are multiple stories and multiple sectors, and it's just a matter of time. That's that you build on, you try to keep building on towards that one critical mass, and when you hit that critical mass, things go on the other side. So we are just about to reach. I would like to believe, based on our numbers, that we are just about 10% away from hitting the critical mass. So yeah.
Okay, fair enough. You know the internal data,
Hmm.
obviously, but I think effort needs to go in the direction in terms of helping that critical stage or advancing that critical stage
Yes,
by way
yes.
of social media, by way of the talks that you do, by way of the book that you have published.
So yes, so we needed also the kind of platform to build on, right? So the book
Yes.
has become a critical platform to build on that credibility that we have earned over the years, right? So yeah, that is one, and we are taking on sessions like this because we also understand that there is the information is not complete. Let me just put it that way. The information is not complete and it's not clear. The messaging is not clear in the masses. Needs to be there. We are slowly getting started. We will be there soon.
Fantastic, fantastic. One quick question I'll take your feedback on. Regional language journalism, has independent journalism taken birth in the regional media? Do you have
No,
any example?
unfortunately not.
It would be great if it
Unfortunately not.
does. It would be great if it does. Fantastic. I'll just quickly request Mr. Gaurpati to raise his question. Brief, please be brief.
How do you track as far as because also I get all the news, including New York Times, Boston, Los Angeles Times, South India. If I don't have the patience to listen to them, then I get one more weekly newspapers as well as Indian newspapers. I get a consolidated list. How do you expect to survive yourself in one thing?
Sorry, I couldn't understand the complete question.
Probably, I think for want of additional information, we can surmise. In the wake of social media misinformation that is running riot, how do you see the scope of independent journalism standing against the onslaught?
It is all the more important. Like I said, it's the best of the time, it's the worst of the time. It's the best of the time because you have all the tools that was ever possible. We are the best possible time in the history of mankind to do good journalism. At the same point in time, the same tools are available to any Tom, Dick, and Harry who wants to do whatever they want to do. So yes, that question will always be there. I think that is why unbiased journalism becomes a critical point. That is why fact-based, data-based, research-based journalism becomes a point. You will be able to differentiate it when you read both the pieces. You read, WhatsApp information. You will not find a single link giving credibility to their data. You read any news information from any of the reputed independent journalism websites, they will not just give you the link for the data from where they have got it. They will also ensure that they get the data from the official source. They will ensure they give you the context to set the data. So yeah, I mean, it is difficult, but it is not impossible. It will take you time to understand the difference, but it you have to understand that we, all of us journalists, also go through a lot of pain to bring these pieces of information to you guys, and we understand that it is a very very tough time. But having said that, I think social media is also a fad. There was Orkut before, there was Facebook, and then there was Twitter. Now there is X and Instagram. It's a cyclical thing. This too shall pass. Yes,
Okay.
journalism will stay.
Right, right. Thank you very much for that optimistic note. Are we to conclude that people like you, people who are independent journalists, they will only report what's wrong with XYZ, or they also report what's right with PQR?
No, I think there are both the things, right? So it is just that for whatever reasons, and I don't know the reason yet, I have been trying to find this out. What is wrong with XYZ? sells more, gets more eyeballs, gets more viral than what's right with PQR. I'll just give you a couple of examples, right? This is like some historical examples from my career, right? I did some very good stories on education technology. Those stories were spoken about, but they did not pick it as well as Byju's did. Maybe because it was the biggest company, raised the biggest amount of money or whatever, right? Back in the day when I was doing lifestyle journalism, I wrote a lot about those kind of stories that needs to be told. There is a guy who lives on a police chowki on National Highway 24 with a Maruti Gypsy, which he has converted, uh, which he bought on donation, and which he has converted it in an ambulance. And he basically ferries people who meet with accident on the entire stretch of NH24, dead or alive. It takes them to the nearest hospital. These are also stories that I've covered. So I mean, and some of those stories did go viral, right? One of the I wrote one of the stories about a young chap who is an ice skater, and that story got him some sponsorship, and that man is in California right now. He called me last year from San Jose. So yeah, I mean, it's just that I have become known for this one story, and that is about it, right? But there are people who have been writing good stories about good things as well, but I think they get lost because there are a lot of things that are wrong with the all of us, with our country, with the state of the democracy, with the state of the world and stuff like that, and they need to be corrected, right? The right things are right, they will be fine. The wrong things need to be corrected.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for that response. But largely, whether you are an employee, or not say entrepreneur, but you are an employee, or you are one of the directors on the board, or you are a media funded, I mean, corporate funded media house, everywhere, I think we don't show spine. I think that's the common thing. Largely, as a society, we don't see. What I notice sometimes in other countries, especially in US, some of the corporate honchos, they speak against the ruling government. Sometimes they show the spine. I think that has not found any evidence in a country like ours so far, except one or two stray cases. So
No,
I think, yeah, go ahead.
I would like to disagree, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, there was a time when we not only used to question Dr. Manmohan Singh, but we used to abuse Dr. Manmohan Singh, right? Go back to news channels from before 2014, and you will see that from politicians to anybody walking on the road to news anchors, they treated Dr. Manmohan Singh or asked questions of Dr. Manmohan Singh, right? Like he was just some fellow, right? And it was right. That is the right thing to do because he has more responsibility than us. He's answerable to all of us, right? I think that practice has ended in the last decade and a little more, right? But I'm sure you would agree that the kind of journalism, this kind of journalism were also there before we started changing our narrative, and we lost our spine somewhere in the last 10 years. We had spine, and I'm sure we will regrow it in due course of time.
Awesome. Before we conclude, Professor Prasad, you have any last question?
Yeah, this is a slightly philosophical question. How independent is independent? I mean, more easier for business, but I mean, there are so many, like you said, no, there are degrees of independence. So for someone who's, skeptical.
White is white, right? Gray is not white. Off-white is not white. So white is just white. Likewise, independent is independent. There are no adjectives, no qualifiers, no adverbs need to be qualified as need to qualify independent, right? When you are independent in the sense that you don't have any biases, you don't have any inclination towards one chain of thought. I might like you as a person, right? But when I am writing a story about you, I have to write it from my journalistic lens and not as from the lens that I am your friend, right? And that is what we have done so far. Over the course of reporting, as you would understand, you make certain people become friends, right? Industry people become friends because some people are more open to you than others, right? Probably they see value in what you do and everything else. And some of those people don't expect you to do a story on them, but we have done that. And I went and some people have come back to me saying, boss, why are you doing this? What is this? And I'm like, boss, we have this responsibility, right? If we are a publication which is talking about a sector, we cannot talk about A to Y and leave Z alone. That can't happen. So when we say we are independent, we are independent. We are only answerable to our readers. Nobody else has the authority to ask questions of us or our editorial policy or anything of that sort. We do the kind of stories that we are very, very convinced about. And after we are convinced about it, it doesn't matter whether it's against the government, against the biggest companies. We have done all of that.
Thank you. I think what I can understand from this is that this is something which needs to be experienced
Yeah.
to be able to judge that a person is independent. And second is it seems to be more individual centric than institution centric. I mean, in a sense, the brand is associated more with the individual who has that particular quality.
No, the brand is also very clear, right? So we have only onboarded the kind of people, like-minded people, right? You can't have, it's a very, very clear vision and a very, very clear strategy and mission, right? It's very clear. There are no questions asked, right? Only if you understand what we stand for, and most people who join us eventually as employees, as reporters, or journalists, they are subscribers for a long period of time to understand our policies, to understand our coverage, to understand the way we go about our business before they become a part of our organization. So it's very, very clear. There is nothing hidden. Like there are no fine prints in what we do, and we make it clear that it is a tough job. It's a job that we are doing for a living because we like doing it, we are enjoying this, and we think we are the best people to do this. But it's a lonely journey. It's a tough fight to fight. We lose morale, we lose hope, everything happens, but we have to keep pushing. There is no other option.
Thank you. I think there is a flavor coming out. You are a team of individuals who think, and as long as you drive affairs, you will attract people who are of that nature. And obviously, it is not the normal scaling up that you talk about in a startup.
We can't scale up, right? Our model, we can't scale up.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Pradip and Professor Prasad. I think it's been a wonderful conversation over the last 1.5 hours that we sat through on this topic. Journalism is the fifth pillar of democracy, and journalism has to reflect the voices. It has to reflect the diverse perspectives. It has to talk about what the common man and the man who's affected is feeling to convey to the powers that be. I think majority of these things, if it is made possible through a business model, and if that business model sustains, independent journalism wins. And not just the independent journalism as a model wins, but the democracy as a spirit wins. I think it has got deep connections with what we as human beings, what we as society have invented a model of a ruling model of governance in terms of democracy. To its true spirit, we have to live, and therefore we need to take the support of independent journalism and give voices to those who did not have voice, and also reflect the concerns of a larger but marginalized groups. I think majority of the times in the world, what happens is those who speak louder will be continuing to speak, and those who ever wanted to say something will be submerged under the cacophony of these voices. I think such things should not happen. And journalism upholds the conscience of citizens, all kinds of citizens. And not only that, I think, as we discussed just now, it should also show spine, and it should show the society its spine. I think more of your kind, more of your tribe should shine and flourish. And I wish independent journalism a great run. I wish it is not just islands of excellence. I wish it is not just small shops which are working at this point in time, but it should be scalable also, it should be replicatable also. There should be many, and each one of them can focus on a particular genre, whatever appeals to them, and all put together would be a wonderful democratic society of independent reporting and independent journalism, so that we all learn, we all thrive in a conscious and learned way in which we are living. We understand that the agencies that are working on us are very transparent. As you said, we need to hold these powers accountable. We need to hold the capital accountable. I think that's a fantastic objective, and I wish you all the best. Whenever you are traveling anywhere in the country, kindly know that we are available in one of those cities. For example, if you go to Bangalore, apart from Byju's and Ola's, we have ICFAI. You should go and freely talk to the students over there, influence the youngsters, catch them young, and put some good thoughts. Share your thought-provoking articles or the spirit of the journalism that you have espoused. So you have an opportunity to go there. Just in case you are in Delhi, we have a campus in Gurgaon. We are in Dehradun, Jaipur, Himachal Pradesh. We are 5 in Northeast, like Meghalaya, Mizoram, Nagaland, Tripura, Sikkim, apart from your Hyderabad, Mumbai, Pune, Ahmedabad, Kolkata, so on and so forth. So we are there. Just in case you're traveling, we would like to still take some more of your time and give an opportunity for the youngsters out there to understand that this genre of journalism, this style of independent journalism is the future, and why it is holding the key. I'm sure large number of people will have to know. One is this platform where on WiseViews we have discussed. We will now convert this into a text document in terms of a summary. We'll also put out an edited, in the sense, spruced up video for our people to go back and look at on our archives. Of course, I'll request you to share the PPT that you have presented. We'll have some basis for us to talk about apart from the video. And then we'll share that summary with you for your approval. Once you approve, we'll put it on our archives. That's the model that we follow. And in addition to that, in person, in flesh and blood, in real life, in person, you can go and talk to the youngsters who are there. Large number of students in 20 campuses that we have around the country. We would welcome you with open arms. The spirit of independent journalism and the spirit of academic freedom and the freedom of inquiry, these all converging at the fundamental values of what most of us believe. So I think we should work together. We welcome you. And also on behalf of everyone here, thank you so much for your expertise and energy.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was a lovely chat, and thank you so much for spending 90 minutes of your time. And yes, go ahead, please subscribe to the Morning Context. I will reach out with a campus-wide subscription offer from my team.
Sure.
And yes, I would love to go on to different campuses just to meet young people. So yeah, thank you very much for having me here. Thank you.
Thank you, and once again, congratulations on winning the CK Prahlad, the Best Business Book Award.
Thank you.
As part of the BBLF very recently. It was a fantastic event, and I was one of the luckiest to be there to understand and also listen to you when you got that award. You spoke very well. Thank you so much for that, and we look forward to having more opportunities to interact, both on online medium as well as on telephone, and of course in person.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That was a wonderful conversation. Thank you very much for joining us. Next week, on next Friday, on November 1st, we will let you have Diwali. The sound of crackers will be a problem. I'm just saying that it's not a problem, but I think the speaker who is going to speak will be busy celebrating Diwali. So we will not disturb any speaker on that day. So all of you have a great Diwali. Enjoy, be safe, and we'll come back, send you the communications, and it will be business as usual. So it's a small break for Diwali, a well-deserved break for all of you as well, and have a great time. Have a nice weekend, and also look forward to having your wonderful Diwali. Thank you so much.